And joining us now is journalist Andrew Funk, who's based in Barcelona, Spain. So, Andrew, why has Spain been so successful so far in bringing down inflation in recent months?
Well, probably the most visible reason that people can see is the fantastic summer in tourism that Spain has had until pretty much November because of the weather. It's been really warm, and so we've had a lot of tourism, and that's probably been one of the main reasons. But other possible reasons would be a favorable economic environment, monetary policy, government policies, and external factors.
Now, this 10 billion euro package that we're talking about is really the third set of aid measures to bring down prices. How will this latest package actually be distributed?
Well, they say approximately 4 million people will receive a one-off 200 euro payment. If you want to put that in other terms, basic terms, it's basically going to the grocery store one time, right? And poor people spend money and richer people invest money. So this money is going to be spent quite quickly. There is a risk and uncertainty because there's no guarantee how people will spend the money, right? So it's assuming that that money will go back into the market, those sectors that are affected the most. And that's pretty much how it is. They're also doing things to reduce and scrape taxes, to decrease the pain of increased prices in food and energy commodities.
You know, that one-time payment, obviously, we've seen other nations implement that type of measure. The especially during the coronavirus pandemic, more specifically. Does it work? Is it, I guess, a successful measure?
Well, I hope so. You know, I think there's good intent behind it. To provide poverty relief. But the reality is we're talking about a short-term solution that has a lot of uncertainty, and there's no specific guarantee because of human behavior, right? So I believe a company is not going to change its long-term plan based on a short-term solution. But I do think it will do something to mitigate the problems poor people have when it comes to buying food.
Well, there are also other subsidies as well for public transportation. Can you kind of break down some of the other measures that have been implemented?
Exactly. With transportation, the price of public transportation has gone down tremendously. So like 40 euros a month in Barcelona to travel around is now 20 euros, right? Wow. They've extended transportation subsidies as well until I think the second trimester of 2023. So that helps a lot. There have been free funds, if you will, to let people travel around. They just had to put 10 euros down, and then they could travel for free. So there's a lot of support when it comes to transportation, food, and living expenses when it comes to gas and electricity.
So my final question for you is, you know, how are other European nations faring in comparison to Spain when it comes to cutting down the cost of living?
Well, you have like the finance minister, Bruno Le Maire, who explained that the fight against inflation was the biggest priority that they have, right? So I think depending on the distance and the relationship towards Ukraine in that area, the more people are affected. But you see that generally speaking, many of the countries are doing something similar, which is either lowering or scraping taxes or putting a cap, right? So you have Germany that's putting a cap at the cost of units of gas and electricity.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. It is fascinating to keep our eye on what Spain is doing. Perhaps Israel could get some advice because we certainly need it, as you heard in our previous interview.